Time feels obvious, everyone agrees on it. You wake up, the day passes, you sleepy sturdy is gone, tomorrow is not yet. However, this is the one thing every human culture agrees on. Without discussion, without proof, time flows. Forward, always forward. He was 26 years old when I first seriously doubted that, not as a philosophical game, not as a thought experiment for amusement, a genuine suspicion that the universe did not work the way anyone assumed. Doubt was not comfortable. It was not the feeling of discovery. It was the feeling of standing somewhere familiar and realizing the ground beneath you is not solid. Let me start where I started with light. Light is strange. Most people do not realize how strange it is because they have never had to think carefully about it. A train moves, you stand on the platform, the train passes you at a certain speed. No, a man on the train throws a ball forward to him. The ball moves slowly to you. The ball moves fast to you. Add the speeds together. This is obvious. This is how everything works. No, replace the ball with light. A lantern on the train fires a beam of light for reward. You would expect the same. Addition, light speed plus train speed. That is not what happens. Light reaches you at exactly the same speed it would if the train were standing still, not approximately the same. Exactly the same. No addition. Only spent years on this problem, not weeks, years, and when the answer finally came, it was not relief, it was a kind of controlled horror, because the only way to make the speed of light constant for everyone was to accept that time itself was not. Stop, think about what that means. If you and I are moving at different speeds and light still travels at the same speed for both of us, then time must be passing at different rates for each of you. Not a little different, measurably different, not a philosophical difference, a physical one. Clocks run slow, not because something is wrong with the clock, not because of vibration or wear, because time itself is moving slower for something that is moving fast. He did not like this conclusion. He spent time resisting it. I looked for another way. There was no other way. Mathematics was clean. The logic was unbroken. If the speed of light is constant, time cannot be universal. First experiment that made this undeniable came from particles. Cosmic rays hit the upper atmosphere and create particles called muons. These particles decay very quickly. By the physics of their decay, they should vanish long before they ever reach the surface of the earth. They do not vanish. They river not because physics is wrong, because they are moving so fast that time for them passes slowly. They last longer from our perspective than they should. This was not a theory, this was measurement. He was forced to accept that two clocks, separated by velocity, genuinely disagree about how much time has passed. Neither clock is wrong, both clocks are correct. They are both measuring real time, their own time. This is what I called proper time. Each object carries its own time with it, like its own pocket of reality. But I was not finished, because velocity was only the first layer. Gravity does the same thing. A clock closer to a massive object, closer to the earth, closer to a star, runs slower than a clock far away, not by much, but measurable. I have confirmed this. Clocks in satellite orbit far above the earth, they run faster than clocks on the surface. The difference is real. The systems that guide navigation on this planet must correct for it constantly. Without that correction, the positions would drift, the error would accumulate, the machines would fail. Einstein's time is not an abstraction, it is the engineering reality of every navigation system on this planet, and yet people still speak about time as if it is one thing, flowing the same way everywhere. For everyone, it is not. No, I must tell you something harder, something that took me longer to fully accept, even after I understood the mathematics completely in 1905. I showed that time is not absolute. A few years later, my former teacher Herman Minkowski took what I had written and extended. I was not gentle about. I said, space and time are not two things, they are one thing, called it spacetim, and the way he described it was this: every event that has ever happened, or ever will happen, exists as a point in a four-dimensional structure, not in sequence, not flowing, not passing, simply existing. A block. When I first encountered this seriously, I was uncomfortable. Issues. The implication is unavoidable. Life, space-time is a structure then all moments of that structure exist equally. The past exists, the present exists, the future exists not as possibilities, not as tendencies, as real locations, the way that Paris and Beijing both exist. Even though you are in neither of them right now, you are simply located at one moment. The other moments are elsewhere in the structure, but their ethos is called the block universe. It is sometimes called eternalism. I want you to stay with what that means before you dismiss it. When you remember yesterday, you believe yesterday still exists in some form, because your memory carries an imprint of it, but the day itself, you believe, is gone. If block universe says it is not gone, if day you were born still exists as a location in Spacetamith moment of your death already exists as a location in Spochetameo. Have not reached it yet, but it is there on it waiting for you. It does not wait, it simply is. You are moving through the structure. Or perhaps you are not even moving. Perhaps the experience of movement through time is something that happens within consciousness, while the structure itself remains perfectly still. I am not certain about that last part, but the structure, the block, I came to believe in that it was not a comfortable belief. It was not a belief I choose because it was pleasant. It was a belief forced on me by the consistency of the mathematics and the experimental results that kept accumulating. Let me show you why simultaneity destroys the easy escape. People often think, fine, the past and future are fixed in the structure, but at least the present is real. At least now is a real thing that everyone shall rest. This seems obvious. It is not true. Simultaneity is relative at woe events that happen at the same time for me do not happen at the same time for someone moving at a different velocity. This is not a perceptual illusion. This is not because the light takes different time to reach different observers. It is structural. Events are genuinely simultaneous in one frame of reference and genuinely not simultaneous in another. Neither observer is wrong. Both are measuring real. It no think carefully of now is different for you and me, depending on our relative motion. Then there is no single universal no. There is no cosmic present moment. The present is personal. It is local. It is defined only relative to a state of motion. A physicist now Edrich made this argument precisely, and later Putnam made it again. If there is no universal now, then the distinction between past, present, and future is not a feature of the universe. It is a feature of your position and velocity within it from some other reference frame, moving rapidly relative to you. Events that are in your future are already in their present for them. What you call tomorrow is happening yet tomorrow now for them right now, and because all reference frames are equally valid, equally real, their now is not more imaginary than yours. Your future is someone else's present. For your future exists not as a possibility, as a location. There is no way around this. That does not require throwing away the entire foundation of what we have confirmed. To a century of experimenting, no, this is uncomfortably no. It feels like something must be wrong. Discomfort does not change the mathematics. Mathematics has been tested in particle accelerators, in atomic clocks, on aircraft, in the signal corrections of every satellite system on Earth found. Ishan holds, and the foundation says the future is real. No, let me be careful here, because there is always an instinct to ask, does this mean the future is determined? Does this mean free will is an illusion? I want to separate these questions carefully. The block universe describes structure. It describes what exists. It does not, by itself, tell us whether the content of that structure was determined by causes, or whether it contains something like choice. A map of all the cities in the world exists as a fixed structure. That does not mean no one ever made a decision about where to build structure and the question of determinism are separate. Is waste. Block universe says the future is real. It does not say how it became really. Leave that question of what I do not leave open is the structure itself. No, there is one more layer on thing I have not yet told you, and it is the thing that, when I finally understood it fully, made me quiet. Block universe suggests that time does not past structure, simply is what we experience as the movement of time, the feeling of now. The feeling of yesterday being gone and tomorrow approaching. That experience is real as an experience, but it may not correspond to anything moving in the universe itself. The river of time that everyone feels it may be something that happens inside minds, not something that exists outside them. The universe does not experience duration. It does not have a present moment. It does not move. It exists the entire structure at once seen the only way that makes sense mathematically. A human brain moving through that structure, processing events in sequence, creates the sensation of flow, but the flow is the processing, not the universe. Think of a book every page of. The book exists simultaneously. The book does not experience itself, but a reader moves through it in sequence and experiences. Narrative of story feels like it unfolds, but all the pages were already there, were always there. This is not poetry. This is the closest analogy I can construct to what the mathematics of space-time actually implies. He came to terms with this slowly. There was a moment when my close friend Michel Bezot died, and I wrote to his family that he had departed from this strange world a little before me. That meant nothing for those of us who believe in physics. The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. Meant thought he did not write it as comfort alone. He wrote it because I believed the structure was real, because the mathematics had told me so. I had learned over a long life of thinking carefully that when the mathematics and the experiments agree, the discomfort of the conclusion is not an argument against it, only a test of your willingness to follow the truth where it leads. No, let me tell you something I am genuinely uncertain about. Quantum mechanics introduces behavior that some physicists believe disturbs the clean picture of the block universe. Quantum events appear at the fundamental level to be genuinely indeterminate until they're observed or measured, not unknown. Indeterminate. This would mean the future is not fixed in the block. It would mean the block is incomplete at the quantum scale. He spent the last decades of my life uncomfortable with this interpretation. He did not believe the universe was fundamentally random. He could not accept that God plays dice. As I said more than once, whether I was right about that I cannot say with certainty. The experiments after my death have not treated my position gently. Bell's theorem, the experiments of Elaine aspect, the correlations between particles that cannot be explained by any hidden classical order. The universe appears at the smallest scales to resist the clean determinism. I prefer Eddie acknowledge this. He do not resolve it. What I will say is this: event of quantum mechanics introduces genuine indeterminacy at the foundation, the space-time structure at the scales of human life, of moving bodies, of clocks and light and gravity, remains exactly as I describe it. The relativity of simultaneity is not affected by quantum uncertainty. Block structure at the classical level is supported by every measurement we have made of future. In the sense of your life, your choices, your ending, exists as a structure. Whether the quantum seeds of that structure were fixed or indeterminate is a question I leave to those who come after math. Large-scale Israel structure holds some final thing. When people hear that the future already exists, they almost always ask the same question: if the future is already there, what is the point of anything? I understand why the question comes, but I think it is the wrong question. The meaning of an action does not depend on whether it was written in advance. When you sit with someone you love, the quality of that time is not diminished because it exists in the structure. When you think carefully about a problem and find the answer, the thinking was still real. The answer still came from somewhere. The experience of living within the structure is the only experience. There is structure. Being fixed does not remove you from it. You are in it. You are part of it. What you call your choices exist in the structure as surely as the mountains and the stars. Whether those choices were caused or free, they are yours now, more and no less yours for being. Really have thought about time for a long time. I have watched people want time to be simple, safe, obvious. It is none of those things. It is a dimension of a four-dimensional structure. It is elastic. It warps near mass. It slows near Velocity it has no universal present, it has no universal flow it contains, in the only interpretation consistent with everything we have measured. All of its moments at once, you are somewhere in that structure right now, a moment among all the moments that make up what you are behind you. The structure extends, those moments exist ahead of you. The structure extends, those moments exist, you are moving through it or experiencing the sensation of moving through it. Either way, you are not escaping it, neither am it is the situation not comfortable or designed to be simply true.